From the Cronkite studios in downtown Phoenix, this is Cronkite News.
Hours after the Senate Budget Committee passes the tax overhaul bill and days before the full Senate will vote, a look at last-minute efforts to sway Arizona senators.
Plus, how Arizona ranks on pursuing equality in different cities around the state, especially in the workplace and with the LGBTQ community.
And principals are in for a lesson on how to prevent burnout, a new program to help retain education leaders in the Valley.
Cronkite News starts now.
Good evening and welcome to Cronkite News on Arizona PBS. I'm Ryan Curry.
And I'm Maya Petros. Thank you for joining us. The White House is celebrating the Senate Budget Committee's passage of the Republican tax plan, and now the pressure is mounting for Arizona senators to take a stand before a full Senate vote. Cronkite News reporter Fraser Allen Best is tracking the latest in our Washington bureau.
The pressure came from both sides on Capitol Hill today. While President Trump was meeting with Republican senators to push for the tax bill, a group of Arizona residents came to lobby against it. Cindy Winston teaches science at a public high school in Tucson, but it was economics that brought her here to Washington today to urge Arizonan senators to oppose the GOP tax plan. Winston worries that the plan would hurt teachers who already suffer from low pay.
Teachers are living at a poverty level.
She joined a group of Arizona residents on Capitol Hill to lobby against the proposed tax plan, the same day that President Trump visited the Capitol to lobby Republican senators to back the plan. The bill will require the support of every Republican senator to pass, making Senators McCain and Flake a focus for those who stand against reform. Alma Hernandez, a student at the University of Arizona, is optimistic that her senators will take a stand.
If they thought this was a great plan, they would have already been out here advocating for it and saying, we're going to vote for it, we're in full support of what the president is saying, and they have not done it. Why? Because they also believe it's not the greatest plan ever.
Senator McCain was not available for comment at his office, where a staffer said that he was at the luncheon meeting with the president. In a written statement 2 weeks ago, John McCain said that he is hopeful that, quote, we will see this process continue and both sides of the aisle having sufficient opportunity to debate the merits of tax reform. Flake was not available for comment, but said earlier this month that real tax reform is needed and not just, quote, cut, cut, cut. As a struggling student, Hernandez wants the Arizona senators to oppose the plan that she feels will discourage students and damage the workforce of tomorrow.
We can't have people going into these professions and expecting them to be in a huge amount of debt because of these tax cuts to the rich.
Now, the House has already passed its version of the tax plan, but Senate debate could start Thursday on the bill that would cut $1.5 trillion in taxes over the next 10 years and add significantly to the deficit at the same time, critics say. Live in Washington, Fraser Allen Best, Cronkite News.
Top Democratic leaders Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer were set to meet with President Trump today to discuss end-of-the-year items, but canceled after the president took to Twitter. The president said he would be meeting with Schumer and Pelosi later that day to talk about keeping the government open and working. But he said, quote, I don't see a deal. Pelosi later tweeted, quote, given that the president doesn't see a deal between Democrats and the White House, we believe the best path forward is to continue negotiating with our Republican counterparts instead. Pelosi and Schumer asked to meet with House Speaker Paul Ryan and Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell instead.
Arizona Senator John McCain says President Trump's actions at a ceremony honoring Navajo code talkers Monday was, quote, an insult to their sacrifice. Cronkite News reporter Bailey Vogt sat down with the president of the Navajo Nation today to discuss Trump's controversial use of the name Pocahontas.
You were here long before any of us were here, although we have a representative in Congress who they say was here a long time ago. They call her Pocahontas.
That was the president yesterday at an event that was supposed to honor Navajo code talkers, but critics say Trump's language instead disrespected the code talkers and their sacrifice.
Some of them lost limbs, some of them were thrown into war camps and things like that, but they survived all of that, and they're standing there in the Oval Office as war heroes. And they should have been respected.
Navajo Nation President Russell B. Gay said that not only did the Pocahontas comment disrespect the code talkers, it also turned a historical Native American figure into an insult.
She had a role in bringing two cultures together, and to turn that Native American woman into being a racial slur was very highly inappropriate.
Begay said President Trump should not have dragged the code talkers into his feud with Massachusetts Senator Elizabeth Warren. Trump started calling her Pocahontas when she claimed Native American heritage.
That belongs on the campaign trail. It did not belong in the Oval Office where war heroes are being honored.
After code talker Peter McDonald finished an extended introduction in the Oval Office, Trump jokingly handed over his prepared speech, saying McDonald had said it all. Begay wishes Trump hadn't.
He should have delivered that and stayed with whatever was written in that speech.
We contacted the White House today, which declined to comment any further on the president's remark. In Washington, Bailey Vogt, Cronkite News.
Phoenix, Tempe, and Tucson were the 3 cities in Arizona to receive a perfect score on the Municipal Equality Index report, a report made by the Human Rights Campaign that rates cities across the country based on equality. Holly Bach is live in the Broadcast Center and found out how some cities in Arizona received their score. Holly?
The Municipal Equality Index report reveals what can be done by city leaders who are pursuing equality in the workforce and in their city, specifically in the LGBTQ community. The MEI scorecard consists of 5 categories, one of them being the relationship with the LGBTQ community. More than 500 cities were rated, 68 scored 100, and Phoenix, Tucson, and Tempe were among those perfect scores. Ginny Belusic, the diversity manager for the city of Tempe, says the city does a lot of proactive work to obtain a score of 100.
It didn't come easy. It happened for a reason.
Belusic says companies do research and are more likely to move to a city like Tempe because of their inclusive policies.
They want their employees to feel welcome in the community. So if they do have LGBT employees, they want to relocate to a community that is welcoming.
Joseph Stewart is a member of the LGBTQ community and says he feels safe and equal in the workforce.
There's very few times that I feel I've been called out for my sexual identity or gender or any of my sexual orientation. I would say it's actually more welcoming because it's not discussed, but it's not off the limits to discuss as well.
This year marked the 6th edition of the MEI, and the national average increased from 55 points in 2016 to 57 points this year.
Moving forward and looking towards the future, it's only becoming more prevalent that acceptance is spreading nationwide, and any company who doesn't adapt to that's really going to start falling behind and is going to experience that.
I like to think that the HRC, the MEI, and the score, well, that's wonderful. It's great to get 100. We're proud of that. But I think we're more proud of the stories and the people we touch in doing so.
For the 2018 MEI scorecard, there will be 2 new bonus criteria: single occupancy all gender facilities and laws protecting youth from conversion therapy. In the Broadcast Center, Holly Bach, Cronkite News.
No agreement today in the ongoing dispute over the Phoenix Chinese Cultural Center. The judge in the case heard final arguments and is expected to release a statement later this week. The Sichuan Palace restaurant was awarded a temporary restraining order in September, preventing the development company True North from making any changes to the exterior of the buildings. The court must decide whether to make the restraining order a permanent order or lift it and allow a planned demolition.
Being a school principal or superintendent is a tough job, especially for those who are new to these positions. But as Marcia Opon reports, a program at Grand Canyon University is helping them transition through the experience of others.
It's been very positive, a lot of great networking opportunities, and it's always nice to have the professional development.
Chad Elstrom, a 7th-year principal at Sunridge Elementary School, has been a participant in this program for some years.
Looking at different ways and different things that other people are doing to retain new staff and to recruit teachers to fill those gaps when needed.
The Superintendents and Principals Collaborative Program is designed to help leaders overcome challenges through coaching from current or retired superintendents and principals.
Because of the mentorship, I was guided, and I was guided because due to the program to what being a superintendent, what I could expect during the first year.
It's open to first-time superintendents and any principals looking for help.
Keep the conversation going. Do not let it die.
We knew that the secret to student success, for students being able to reach the levels of their potential that we all aspire for them, depends on great leadership in schools. And that means that they have to have great principals and they have to have great superintendents.
Nationally, the average tenure of school superintendents is approximately 3 years, according to Council of the Great City Schools. But this program could change that.
It's been great to have the professional development, not only with my cohort of principals, but all the principals across the West Side. You know, there's a lot of great opportunities here to grow, and it's been a real positive impact. It's had a real positive impact on what I do on a daily basis.
This year, there are 25 first-year superintendents in the program from both urban and rural schools. In Glendale, Marcia Opong, Cronkite News.
The program has served about 78 superintendents and 200 principals in the past.
Bisbee, Arizona brings in thousands of tourists every year for its neat architecture and history.
But Bisbee's older buildings are posing threats to the town. Coming up on Cronkite News, a look at how these worn-down houses impact the economy and may threaten citizen safety.
Plus, with the season of giving upon us, some volunteers returned from Thanksgiving to find their food truck had been stolen.
Hello from the children of planet Earth.
Exploring, it's the lifeblood of the mission.
Human beings are a curious bunch.
What are we going to see when we get really close?
Wow.
Just because an idea is crazy, it's not necessarily wrong.
We were on our way.
You don't get anywhere until you've tested the limits.
That carries an intensity you can't imagine.
You could hear people just, whoa.
Oh my God, absolutely spectacular.
It's a rush. We ask a lot of our heroes.
We are at a remarkable moment.
We're going farther than any exploration ever has.
Today is Giving Tuesday, a day following Black Friday and Cyber Monday that encourages another way to spend your money by giving back. Arizonans are not particularly charitable. However, Arizona ranked 46 on a list of most charitable states, according to WildHub. The study looked at factors like percentage of donated income, volunteer rate, and number of charities per capita.
After helping provide meals to a family on Thanksgiving Day, volunteers at the Valley View Community Food Bank came back to realize their truck had been stolen. Reporter Cindy Eisenberg shows us how the food bank is now struggling to keep up with the demand during the busy holiday season.
At first, Jesse Ramirez, founder of the Valley View Community Food Bank, didn't think anything of it when his truck was missing Friday morning after Thanksgiving.
So by that evening, we noticed that the truck wasn't here and the keys were. We kind of put two and two together and found out that it was taken from our parking lot.
Ramirez says the truck was parked right outside when it was stolen. The food bank served 3,300 people in the 3 days before Thanksgiving. That truck helped deliver 1,700 meals in that time frame. The truck's main purpose was to deliver meals and pick up donations.
We usually move about 4,000 pounds a day with that truck.
Since the theft, Ramirez has had to rent a truck. Community members have also stepped up, allowing Ramirez to borrow their trucks. However, the food bank is hoping to replace their truck before Christmas.
The more days that go by, having to rent a truck is just taking money out of the, our situation where we can buy more food.
So far, police have not found the food bank's truck. In El Mirage, Cindy Eisenberg, Cronkite News.
Ramirez has started a GoFundMe page to raise the money needed to buy a new truck. As of airtime, they've raised $1,000 out of their $20,000 goal.
Bisbee, Arizona draws tourists because of its architecture and history. But Cronkite News reporter Erica Arrington explains the southern Arizona town faces safety and economic issues because of dilapidated homes.
The city of Bisbee is home to over 5,000 residents tucked in the mountainside, but there is concern for about 60 homes that have structural issues. Some are leaning, others are close to falling down. Settlers came to Bisbee in the late 1800s, so it's routine to see homes more than a century old. Without proper upkeep, dozens of homes have fallen into disrepair, sparking debate over whether to preserve them or tear them down.
We consider dilapidated
that was standard living quarters in a century ago.
Mike Anderson has seen Bisbee change and says that although the mining town turned tourist destination sees thousands of visitors each year, there is simply not enough money to bring the old homes up to code.
There's nothing you can do. It's condemnable. You can't fix that house. It's ruined.
For residents like Renee Reed, who live by these homes, they are anxious to see what the city will do with them.
Over the years, yeah, that one disintegrated. You can see how well kept the one next door to it has been.
Reed remembers the worn down home in its glory.
08. Yeah, he painted it in 08. So that was what? Yeah, 10 years ago. Yeah. It looked like that.
Since certain neighborhoods are under a historical preservation ordinance which prevents new builds and teardowns, dilapidated homes in these neighborhoods must be evaluated by the City Design Board before any changes are made. But even if they are designated to be torn down, the city lacks the funds to do the work.
They have to weigh everything out. Is this historically significant building? Is it salvageable? Is the money that you would put into it the kind of money that that's worthwhile to be, you're throwing good money after bad.
The city is concerned that the homes will create fire hazards and also could possibly collapse and hurt residents and tourists. In Phoenix, Erica Arrington, Cronkite News.
Cooler temperatures have more people bundling up to keep warm.
But what if you could give your house a pair of jeans to help keep it warm too? Coming up on Cronkite News, how Phoenix Fiber is recycling old clothes and giving them new life.
And we are currently sitting at 73 degrees under mostly cloudy skies, and we are headed for a steep cool down. More details on that coming up.
Ted Simons, host and managing editor of Arizona Horizon. Join us each weekday at 5:30 and 10 as we bring you the top newsmakers who impact the state. We cover the stories in depth that shape and affect our local communities, and we take the time to ensure that all voices are equally heard. For more than 30 years, Arizona Horizon has been your voice and your source for what matters most, right here on Arizona PBS.
Officially from 36, and he hooks it in. Arizona State wins. Keeping one deep, and it is caught. Jalen Strong. Do you
A local company is giving old clothes new life as punching bags, insulation, and boxes. Cronkite News reporter Tatum Hubble went to Phoenix Fibers to find out how they keep clothes out of Arizona landfills.
The average American throws away 70 pounds of clothing every year, but those clothes you toss aside are being turned into products like insulation for your home and the beanbag you sit in at Phoenix Fibers.
The raw materials that we get primarily are post-consumer or old blue jeans. In a typical month, for example, we'll receive over 600,000 pairs of jeans.
Phoenix Fibers president Todd Keene says the company diverts jeans from landfills by collecting them from donation centers and from retailers.
Each of these bales contain 500 pairs of jeans, and Phoenix Fibers creates 2,500 bales a month.
According to the Arizona Department of Environmental Quality, at least 50 tons of textiles were recycled last year.
It helps our community out, and it helps people that are in other parts of the world as well. And it keeps it out of our landfills. And we've got landfills. We don't want to build more landfills. We'd rather have more products.
Phoenix Fibers also works with schools, churches, and local charities to raise money through clothing drives to support recycling. In Chandler, Tatum Hubble, Cronkite News.
Beside the clothing drives, organizations can also host collection bins. Phoenix Fibers maintains the bins and pays the organization for each pound of clothing collected.
Conservation groups are suing the U.S. Forest Service over a proposed open-pit copper mine near Tucson. The lawsuit says the Rosemont copper mine would destroy Coronado National Forest land and threaten water resources. This isn't the first time the project has faced environmental concerns. It has been delayed numerous times since it was proposed in 2007.
The 2017 Waste Management Phoenix Open is touting another first in golf sustainability. It's won a certified tournament status from Scotland-based GEO Foundation. The Waste Management Phoenix Open followed the terms of GEO's voluntary sustainable golf tournament standard. Some of the achievements include a 100% landfill diversion rate through recycling and composting, the restoration of 63 million gallons of water to the Colorado River Basin and Verde River, and the purchase of carbon offsets that more than double the emissions of tournament operations and travel.
Well, these cloudy skies could be foreshadowing some rain.
And we could use it after a long dry spell. Emily Bloom is tracking our forecast.
We do have a slight chance of rain in our forecast. We're going to get there in just a few minutes, but first we are sitting at 72 degrees under mostly cloudy skies. Now we feel that cooler air outside today, but despite that, our high today of 78 degrees, still an entire 8 degrees above our seasonal average of 70. Across the state at the moment, we've got 57 in Show Low, 76 down in Tucson, 54 up at the Grand Canyon, and 70 for those of you in Lake Havasu. Now taking a look at our futurecast, that cooler air that we're feeling outside today is a result of the tail end of this low pressure system right here. As that continues to move east, we've got this second low pressure system moving into the state tomorrow. Wednesday at 6 p.m., most of us are going to be under cloudy skies. Now fast forward to Thursday morning, and we've got even more cloud cover, and the higher terrain right there is seeing a little bit of precipitation. Now if we zoom out, we can see all of that precipitation coming off the tail end of that trough. The lower left corner of your screen, that is going to be bringing us a slight chance of rain for our weekend. As we make it through the rest of this work week, Wednesday and Thursday, despite that cloud cover, we're still sitting at a high of 80 degrees. But by Saturday, we're going to drop that down to 78. Sunday, we were looking at a high of 77 degrees with that 20% chance of rain. We're going to keep it at a 10% chance for Sunday. And then take a look at that. By Tuesday of next week, we have a high of 66 degrees. For Cronkite Weather, I'm Emily Bloom.
Painting, drawing, and conversation.
It's all part of a program helping veterans ease back into civilian life. Coming up on Cronkite News, how a new program is offering free arts classes for those who served.
It's at Cronkite News, your social sharing connection where you choose the news. Facebook likes and shares, tweets, retweets, and favorites. YouTube views and subscriptions. We're watching you watch us. From our digital home at cronkitenews.azpbs.org to your television, web browser, or mobile device. Find us on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Then join us for at Cronkite News, our weekly refresh, each Friday at 5 on Arizona PBS.
Possibilities. Your day is filled with them.
Reach up, energy in the fingertips, collapse. TV, play Downton Abbey.
And PBS helps everyone discover theirs. Anytime, anywhere.
Up in the sky, you can see it.
PBS, we're with you for life.
The transition from serving our country to civilian life can be a hard one for some veterans. Cronkite News reporter Monica Sampson shows us where veterans will use art as a tool for rehabilitation.
Good. It's fun. I'm trying something new.
That's Sergeant Kellyanne Beck, a veteran who's taking part in the Mesa Art Center's Arts for Veterans program. She's joined by fellow veterans for a day of art.
Today I'm screen printing, and I'm hoping I can be a little more creative.
Staff Sergeant Drew Trojanowski served multiple combat tours in Iraq and Afghanistan and said he found arts were the most helpful in learning to find himself again.
Doing these things reminds you that you can do whatever it is that you desire. You can build, you can craft, you can create, you can do any of those things.
This program was started in collaboration with the Arizona Coalition for Military Families.
The main goal of this program is to give those who serve the chance to have both a creative and a social outlet as they transition back into their civilian lives. This program isn't just being taken by veterans, it's taught by one too. Instructor Ron Brimrose, a Marine Corps veteran, sees how art directly affects their rehabilitation.
Drawing or painting, I'm nowhere else. And that in itself, no matter what your situation, is pretty therapeutic.
Even though she doubted her skills,
I get a little bit nervous doing anything like drawing or screen printing or coloring even.
That changed when her work came to life. Sergeant Trojanowski opened up about how finding the arts allowed him to transition into civilian life again.
It is liberating to a degree, not to be cliche, but it is incredibly liberating to be able to do what it is that you want to do.
This program will be offered in the spring at the Mesa Arts Center with no cost to the veteran community, thanks to a grant. In Mesa, Monica Sampson, Cronkite News.
Cronkite News is proud to be the news division of Arizona PBS. Here's what's coming up on Arizona Horizon and PBS NewsHour.
On the next Arizona Horizon, Secretary of State Michelle Reagan talks about a new website to help voters track campaign money. And we'll see how folks are recognizing this year's edition of Giving Tuesday.
I'm William Brangham. On the next NewsHour, an intimate look at life behind bars in California through Ear Hustle, the first podcast to be produced inside a prison. That's Tuesday on the PBS NewsHour.
For Cronkite News tonight, thanks so much for joining us.
For top Arizona stories anytime, go to cronkitenews.azpbs.org.